Nadika Kumari is trying to keep the home fires burning. Since her husband fell ill, she's been making and selling food to earn a living.
We have to pay a lot for medicine and the children's education. My mother's also sick. Tuition fees and other expenses are very difficult.
Nadika's family is among thousands struggling in Sri Lanka. 2 years ago, the country declared bankruptcy, the result of poor money management, corruption and billions of dollars in debt, combined with an economic downturn after the 2019 Easter bombings and the pandemic. People queued for days to buy food and fuel, getting angry and frustrated.
We have never had a time like this. Gas queues, petrol queues, kerosene lines.
Public outrage peaked in July 2022, forcing then-President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to flee the country and resign. Ranil Wickremesinghe took over and steadied the economy with a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. But he had to agree to austerity measures to secure the $3 billion loan package. 2 years on, inflation is 0.5%. It was 70% 2 years ago. Revenue collection is improving and reserves are growing.
We are living with debt, although there is fuel and they say there are no queues, but we haven't repaid our loans.
However, more than a quarter of the population of 22 million is living below the poverty line, surviving on about $2 a day. Critics say the austerity measures unfairly target this group. And some analysts disagree with Wickremesinghe's claims that he's turned Sri Lanka around.
The foundational problem of the economic crisis was governance and corruption, and that without fixing that foundation, anything that is built in terms of taxation and economic policies will be like building a house upon the sand. It won't survive for very long.
But one of the architects of the economic turnaround has urged all stakeholders to remain committed to the reforms, warning that
any political or social uncertainties or reversals of hard-earned achievements that exert significant pressure on the reform agenda could lead to a deviation from the intended policy trajectory, potentially resulting in adverse and irreversible impacts on the economy.
Over 2 years after the country's worst economic crisis, thousands of families are still struggling to make ends meet. To them, debt restructuring, better money management and policy reforms being discussed on the campaign are not as important as putting food on the table, educating their children and keeping a roof over their heads.
And those are daily battles, irrespective of who wins the election. Minelle Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Colombo.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.